Now, talking about energy, is hydrogen the miracle fuel? Can it replace coal, oil, and gas? Hydrogen contains loads of energy, it can be stored as a kind of battery, and it burns cleanly, producing only water as a waste product. So why not go over from North Sea gas to North Sea hydrogen? Dr. Joe Murray has been asking, is hydrogen the answer?
This is Joe Murray for News for Scotland, talking on the environment. In a previous feature I spoke about global warming and climate change. In that feature I asked that we change how we live to prevent an ecological crisis for the sake of our children and grandchildren's future. Fossil fuels have driven and powered our societies and our economies for a few centuries now, and it has not been to the benefit of our environment. In order to be sustainable, we need to consider all of these three things together. So how can we change how we live without destroying our economy? We are told economy is central to society, that it is the most important thing, while our environment is continually paid scant attention. This is the way we look at things these days, and sustainability too often means affordability. These are not the same thing. Far from it. Without a healthy environment, societies will diminish. Our experience and history tells us that. And without society, any idea of economy is meaningless. So it's pretty poor business practice to destroy the very thing that provides you with every gulp of air you breathe, every drop of water you drink, every morsel of food you eat, and every single penny you earn. It all comes from nature, from the environment we diminish. An old Cree Indian prophecy says, only when the last tree has been cut down, the last fish has been caught, and the last stream poisoned, will we realise we cannot eat money. So how do we get our economies away from the damaging hydrocarbons that are wreaking so much damage in our environment? There is much talk right now of replacing fossil fuels with hydrogen, that switching to cleaner hydrogen energy in several sectors can meaningfully support the transition to a net zero future. Hydrogen can offer a clean energy solution to parts of the economy that are difficult to decarbonise, such as industrial processes, industrial and domestic heat, and hard to electrify transport, such as heavy-duty vehicles, or ships, or aeroplanes for that matter. Although it is the most abundant element in the universe, hydrogen must be produced by separating it from other elements in water and fossil fuels. While producing it requires energy, the hydrogen itself is emission-free at the point of use. So let us investigate how hydrogen as a fuel source is produced. Hydrogen is a very small and light molecule, meaning the element's natural form is a gas. As a gas it can be liquefied, but that requires keeping it at a temperature of minus 254 degrees C, which makes it very difficult and expensive to transport, particularly over long distances. The solution lay in converting the hydrogen into a chemical compound which is already widely traded around the world, ammonia. Ammonia is produced in a process where the hydrogen is mixed with nitrogen and together processed at high temperature and pressure. Some things you might like to know about hydrogen. 1. Hydrogen comes in many colours. Why does an invisible gas have so many colours? Well, it comes down to the different sources and the way hydrogen is produced. Some processes create more greenhouse gas emissions than others, so scientists have attributed colours to distinguish the difference. The primary ones being grey hydrogen. This is generated from natural gas, or methane, through a process called steam reforming. However, for every 1 tonne of hydrogen created, the grey hydrogen method produces 10 tonnes of CO2. Most of today's hydrogen in use is grey. Blue hydrogen. During the steam reforming process, a high proportion of carbon generated is captured and stored underground. But the capture is another energy-intensive process. Blue hydrogen is classified as low-carbon hydrogen. The process for green hydrogen is powered by electricity from renewable resources to split water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. Green hydrogen is classified as carbon-free hydrogen. The prospects for hydrogen looks good because it can be used in several sectors. Its most likely uses are as a clean chemical feedstock for energy source in certain hard-to-abate sectors. There are also lots of ways to produce it. Now, as it becomes more widely used, costs will inevitably come down. To achieve net zero, renewables will have to provide a greater share of global electricity. However, renewable energy production fluctuates depending on the weather. In this context, any excess electricity could be used to produce green hydrogen, which then becomes a form of renewable energy storage. Hydrogen is versatile because it can be used as a fuel source in several sectors and can be compressed into gas or liquefied to make it easier and cheaper to transport. Currently, most hydrogen is used in chemical plants or refineries, and it is grey. If this were replaced with blue or even better green hydrogen, it would cut carbon emissions significantly. Hydrogen also offers a solution for net zero home heating. While electrification has received government policy boost in the UK, electric heat pumps may not suit all properties. Hydrogen could be a solution depending on location, cost and availability of supply. In future, it may be simpler and easier to replace a gas boiler with a hydrogen-ready one. Hydrogen has a role to play in transport too, especially in hard-to-electrify segments such as heavy-duty freight, trains and buses on certain routes, ferries and ocean-going shipping. However, it could be decades before any hydrogen-fuelled aeroplanes are spotted in the sky. We are seeing the beginnings of an emerging worldwide hydrogen market. Strong government support and ambitious decarbonisation policies make the European hydrogen market the fastest growing and potentially the largest. But some of the biggest projects that have been announced recently are in parts of Asia, North Africa and the Middle East. The UK hydrogen market development is progressing at pace. These will enjoy government support to produce blue hydrogen at a scale to create a market. Over time, green hydrogen energy is expected to replace blue hydrogen. The immediate challenge is how to scale up production of hydrogen as an energy source and bring down the price. To do this, low-carbon hydrogen must move up the policy agenda to catalyse investment and infrastructure and create a competitive market. According to the Hydrogen Council, in a net zero world, demand for clean, renewable and low-carbon hydrogen could increase from 90 million tonnes today to 660 million metric tonnes in 2050, making up 22% of the final energy demand globally. But how can hydrogen support our journey to net zero? We need to look to decarbonising transport. Transport is responsible for about a third of the UK's carbon emissions. Whilst it is possible to power smaller vehicles such as cars and vans using electric batteries, larger vehicles such as trucks, buses and trains are much harder to decarbonise using batteries due to the size and weight of the batteries required to power something so large. Instead, it is possible to decarbonise them using a technology called hydrogen fuel cell. That uses hydrogen as its power source. Powering these vehicles with renewable hydrogen makes them truly zero carbon. Renewable hydrogen can also be used to decarbonise shipping and aviation. Here in Scotland, inspired by the Green Fuels for Denmark project, Edinburgh Airport, in partnership with a Danish company Ørsted, has begun plans to make Edinburgh Airport one of the most sustainable in the world, mapping out a route for the airport to meet its goal to reach net zero by 2040. This, of course, will play a crucial role in achieving Scotland's net zero ambitions by 2045. Edinburgh Airport will make use of green technologies, including new hydrogen fuels produced at scale from offshore wind farms to eliminate carbon emissions from the airport and the aircraft that operate from it. This includes its service vehicles. So, hydrogen fuel, especially green hydrogen, points the way to a possible cleaner and healthier environment. But let's not relax and celebrate yet. This is just one of the many things we need to do or stop doing if we are to reverse all the damage we are doing and to restore natural balance to the planet. So until next time, thanks for listening. I'll now hand you back to Hugh in the studio.
Thanks, Joe.